turning on a thin black sheet of glass. She saw both the lives flash before her eyes. She didn't even have time to cry. She was so...
Little 5-year-old Summer Wells vanished from her home in the hills of Tennessee without a trace. No witnesses, no solid leads, and no answers. Even now, years later. But what if I told you she isn't the first member of her family to go missing and never be found? In this video, we're diving deep into the now infamous interview her parents gave to Dr. Phil, including walking out of the interview. I'll be breaking down their body language, their words, and what behavior analysis are still questioning to this day. Was it grief or guilt that showed through a national television show? And how does this strange pattern of disappearances surrounding his family change the way we view the case? Stay with me, because at the end of this video, you may see the Summer Wells case in a way that you have never seen it before. Now let's dive deep into what Don Wells, this is Summer Wells' father, what he says about that day, and then also what the behavior analysts say as well.
It was just a normal day. I called my wife and she was getting her mother's prescription, so I decided just to go ahead and work late.
We just finished planting flowers and then Summer was putting the rocks.
As you can see, little Summer here, playing outside, the innocence, just playing in the rain.
On top, and then she got a piece of candy from Grandma, and then she asked to go back in the house with the boys. Well, she walked right in the house. After Summer went inside, I walked back over here to my mom's camper, and I fixed my mom's knee brace when she was sitting right here in the doorway, and I told my mom that I have to go back in with the kids. Helping my mom with the knee brace only took like 2 to 3 minutes.
Now, just remember that. Helping my mom with the knee brace only took 2 to 3 minutes.
After I came into the house, I asked the boys where she was, and they said that she went downstairs to play in the playroom. And I came into the playroom and looked. I even looked under the bunk beds and everywhere, and she wasn't here at all. When I couldn't find Summer in the basement, I come outside, and I stood up here on this hill, and I hollered for her and told the boys that she wasn't down there. And then I went outside, and I called Donnie right away.
About 5:30 p.m., my wife Candace called and said she couldn't find Summer. I says, well, hang up for me and call 911.
Which, in all reality, I don't know about anybody else watching this, but if you have a child that you can't find, do you call your spouse right away or do you call 911? If she was nervous enough to call Summer's dad, wouldn't you call the police first?
So I threw my tools in the car as fast as I could, got in there and started down the road and called 911 myself. I've passed all kind of cars, double yellow and everything. And I'm getting really worried. So here's my road. I pull down here, here's the creek right here. I notice my 3 boys are together and they're over here looking. And then I looked over that way and seen my neighbor coming this way towards my boys, and my heart sunk because I knew she was abducted. I knew she was.
Again, how do you know she was abducted? So they have a very large property. It is up on a hill here in Tennessee. And how do you know? She could have gotten lost. She could have fallen. I mean, how do you know she was abducted? You're not giving us any clues as to why you think that she was abducted. And by the way, he's talking about his 3 boys. Those boys are no longer living at the house. DCFS took the children away.
If I understand correctly what you've said, you took Summer in the front door.
Yes.
And you said to the 3 boys, keep an eye on Summer.
Yes.
Okay. Then you did what?
Then I went back outside to my mom's camper, which was right next to the house. And I had to fix her knee brace for her.
Okay. She had a knee brace on?
Yeah.
And that took?
Like 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Remember I said, remember the 2 to 3 minutes? Took about 2 to 3 minutes. Now she's, in this interview, she's saying 2 minutes. Right? Very confidently, 2 minutes. That's all it took.
And then what'd you do?
I went back in the house.
When you went back in, what'd you see?
And the 3 boys sitting there watching TV.
Okay. And no Summer?
No Summer.
Okay, what'd you do then?
I asked the boys where she was at. And they told me that she went downstairs to play with her toys.
Okay. Would she do that? Would she say, hey, I'm going downstairs to play with my toys, or would she just go?
No, she'd tell the boys.
What'd you do then?
Well, I hollered for her at first.
And no response.
No response.
So what'd you do?
So I went directly down there. I looked for everywhere I could look. In the room, under the blankets, whatever. And she was gone.
All right. What's the way to get out of there besides coming back upstairs?
Just the basement door.
That back door?
Yeah.
Okay. And
Which, by the way, and maybe I stopped this a little prematurely, if you have a basement door that a child is known to walk in and out of, why wouldn't you secure that door? Or was she running from something? Why was she running out that door?
if that door opens, could the boys hear it?
No, if they had the TV up loud.
Okay. All right.
She wasn't inside when the boys were in there watching TV. She came in after Summer was missing. So how does she know how loud the TV was when Summer potentially could have walked out that door?
Is she known to go out that back door?
She'll go out the back door, but then she'll circle around by her swing.
Okay. Back around to the front?
Yeah.
What we're seeing here is looking out that back door, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Now, there's a road there. Is that
Driveway.
a driveway?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, can that be seen from your mother's camper?
No,
That's the back side of the house. You can't see that
that's-
from her camper?
not that part, no.
If you step out on the road there, you can about see your camper.
And that drive there goes up to the highway?
It circles around the house. Right there, it goes to the top, and then it goes down around to it. It circles all the way around the house.
Okay. Is that the back door?
That's the back door.
That's the door to her room.
Yes.
Okay. If she came out that back door and there was somebody there, could they have grabbed her right there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then how would they make their escape? Back this direction,
Well,
away from the camper?
the dogs led the scent, went straight down that dog trail by that yellow generator, right from where that picture's taken.
You're saying then that this is the back door,
Yes, sir.
and you're saying that there was a scent that went this direction.
Yes, all the way down to Ben Hill Road.
All the way where?
All the way down to Ben Hill Road.
Okay. Now, if this looks like a big circle, how do you get back to the highway?
So you go down the driveway to Ben Hill Road and then turn left, and it takes you out to Beach Creek area.
Okay, so for someone to drive away, they would have had to come on around the circle and exit here?
That's a possibility, but we think they were parked down on the Ben Hill Road.
Okay, so you think they would have walked on down?
Which, by the way, if somebody did take her and they were on a vehicle up here, first of all, this looks like a one-way road. I mean, yes, you could have turned around, etc. The camper, Candus Bly, her mother's camper, is right here. And then that is the back door. So, yes, they could have gone straight, but they would have gone right by the camper, which, by the way, she did say she was sitting outside helping her mother with her knee brace. So she didn't hear any of this going on at all?
Through the woods to the road
That was
and left the car
yes,
down at the road.
yes. And that's
Okay.
what the dogs indicated. The scent went down to the road, and then somewhere on that road, the scent disappeared.
But how would they have known she was going to be there? Would
Good question. If somebody was going to take Summer, how would they know she would have gone out that door at that point of time so they could take her, right? Again, this is a very, very remote area. You can see it's a dirt road leading up to the house and then around the house. So it's not where it's a busy street. So according to the family, someone took Summer. If this happened, were they just sitting and waiting for her to go outside when nobody else was around? You have the mother-in-law, or the Don Wells' mother-in-law that lives on the property. You have Candace, the mom, Don, the dad, and then 3 brothers. Okay, so that's 6 total people plus Summer is 7. So you have that many people, and it's not as though it's a very large house. And so you have that many people there, and you think somebody's just going to sit and wait for nobody to be around so they could grab Summer? I mean, it's a possibility, right? I don't know. You tell me. Comment below. What do you think in all this?
they have gone inside the room to get her?
Possibility. I wasn't even aware the trail was there.
Okay. So your belief is this might be the last spot that Summer was on the property,
Yes, sir.
right there.
Yeah.
That she was put in a vehicle there and driven away. Just like many parents of missing children these days, Don says they turn to social media for help. But instead of sending clues to his daughter's whereabouts, online bullies began accusing them of being guilty of either killing their daughter or having something to do with her disappearance. So Candace and Don say to prove the naysayers wrong, they sat down with body language experts Scott Rouse and Greg Hartley. Now, Scott and Greg are interrogators who have worked with the FBI, law enforcement, and the military. Scott says his approach is biological, and Greg looks for motivation. Together, they have been called a human lie detector. Now, Scott and Greg agreed to sit down with Don and Candace to dive deeper into their story.
There's no such thing as body language of deception. There's only body language of increased stress, and that indicates something for us.
There are no absolutes. Just because someone does this doesn't mean they're lying or telling you the truth.
And in real life, every day, debriefers do exactly what we do, and they find information the person doesn't remember that they saw.
I thought it was a four-wheel drive, like Ford Escape or a Bronco or
It looked
something.
like a blue minivan to me, but I don't know.
Small blue minivan.
That's what it looked like to me.
We knew we would get to a point where it was
I mean, again, they're doing this interview. I don't know when this interview was done. It definitely was not done the day of, obviously, or the days after the disappearance. But you're now talking to your husband about a blue minivan. Anyway.
going to be hard emotionally. And that's hard to do because people will think you're a monster, but that's important to getting facts. Do you know what happened to Summer?
No.
Do you know who took Summer?
No.
We actually hit harder on the questions for what happened that day. When did this happen? How long was it before this happened?
When you come home, when you first come home.
I'm not doing all that. I'm not going all the way back. I can't do this.
So listen, they're trying to help. They're trying to help.
It's not helping me.
I know, but they might.
There's nothing more to remember.
And we did see some interesting body language.
But I want to go home.
Well, guys, this is an interview that you conducted near their home. And A lot of interesting things turned up, and I want to look at those and discuss them. Now, Scott, what has jumped out to you most about either one of these two, either mom or dad? What's jumped out at you most?
The differences in comfort and discomfort as we speak with them. There are certain things we touch on, and when we're talking to them and they're comfortable, they start becoming uncomfortable due to stress. Those are the things we look for, and we saw those things jump out.
Yeah, and we're going to look at some of those in a minute. Greg, how about you?
Yeah, Doc. So we look for a baseline, and baseline can be everything from speech patterns to movement to all of those. Everyone here, if you ever been pulled over by a police officer, the way you talk changes, the way you move changes, that's stress. So we're looking for that, and we're talking to these people. And it's different in Candus and in Don. Live in a country, you don't expect that kind of stuff.
Calm down for a minute.
No, I want to go inside.
These are tough questions.
No, I'm being interrogated again, and I don't want to do this anymore. Yes, I am.
We'll stop. I want you to feel comfortable.
No, I want. Oh.
Being interrogated again, you're not being interrogated. You're being asked questions about what happened that day. You're just being asked questions. And that's too much for you to help find your daughter?
And I want to go home.
Calm down. Okay.
So she starts, even before she flees the scene, by doing something that we refer to as the trancer in our true crime workshop, and that's making herself unavailable. Whether it's doing this or emotional or something you escape, she's already escaped. It's just a matter of getting out of that wire.
Yeah.
The interesting piece is contrast their body language. Don looks oblivious to all of this. He's trusting us and paying attention to us. She's not. It's an interesting.
Yeah, and at this point, she's down in her chin.
You ask them a question and they feel they're being threatened, you'll see that chin drop. It protects the neck. It's something that happens from your limbic system. It's a psychological thing that happens. So the head goes down. That's what we're seeing there, along with a lot of eye. She talks about it's not working for me, those types of things.
They get very emotional. They lock up. Their throat is protected by putting their chin down over their throat. And then typically in pre-confession, their body will open up, and that's when you close. That's when you go after them.
Yeah.
We wondered.
Now, when my producer asked the Wells for a tour inside their home to better understand what happened the day that Summer went missing, Candus refused. Then she changed her mind and led us into the basement, but only after they had time to clean it. But a month after Summer went missing, Candus did invite podcaster Chris Madonna of the Interview Room for a home tour. Let's take a look at a little bit of that.
I watched her walk in there, and afterwards, when she was already in there, I walked over and I said, "Quiet." And he looked at me and I said, "Watch Sissy, I'll be right back." And that's when I walked back over to my mom's.
Okay.
And I was fixing her brace and stuff like that. And I said, "Well, Mom, I got to go back over with the kids." And that's when I come back up into the house.
Okay.
With the boys.
Okay.
Not that.
You walked into the house.
I walked into here. Get up. I walked in here and them three were sitting right here growing.
Okay, are those machetes that were on the wall here? Let's see here. Let's go inside.
Get up.
Right there. Are these machetes hanging on the wall? Kids, machetes. Not sure how good that is, but anyway.
I walked in here and them three were sitting right here growing with their eyes glued to the TV, like always. And I said, "Boys, where's your sister at?" "Well, she just went downstairs, Mom, to play." So I went over here like this. So this is where the stairs are.
Okay.
It's actually down under there.
Oh, down into her
Down into
bedroom.
Our bedroom, and then hers is on the other side.
Oh, okay, in the basement.
Yeah, in the basement.
Well, this makes sense now, see?
And then I yelled and I said, "Summer, Summer." And she didn't. I listened for a minute. I didn't hear nothing. So I went like this, because this is how I would get down here.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you want to come down here or not.
Do I got to be tiny to get in there?
No, you should.
Can we come in from the other side?
Well, we can, but it'd make more sense if you went this way.
Okay, I'll follow you. Oh, man. Good grief,
No, I know
bro.
if my 6-foot husband can fit down here, you can.
Huh?
My husband's 6 foot. I know if he can fit, you can.
This... Oh, my gosh. Way to go.
This is my husband's room.
Okay.
And over here, well, it's a mess again.
That's all right.
But this is where Summer and Little Waylon was.
In the interview, you ask if someone there's a door.
Someone and who? She said someone and Little Waylon? Someone and... Let's go back to that again. Let's see what she said. This is the first time I'm hearing this.
This is where Summer and Little Waylon was.
Little Waylon. I have no idea who that is. Okay, let's keep listening.
In the interview, you ask if someone there's a door to her room downstairs. It's a basement room, but there's an outside door.
Correct.
You ask, could you hear if someone had opened that door?
She said, yes, you can clearly.
Okay, so we have footage of her opening that door. Let's take a quick look at the door.
I don't recall if this was locked or not. I don't recall that.
Okay.
But I know, it's hard on me. But I know I did come out here and I said, Summer, because sometimes she'll sit right here.
There was a tiny squeak to the door, and that was it.
That was all.
You couldn't hear that up those stairs, through that cubby hole, and around through that cluttered room with the television on.
Okay, now that we saw what the behavior analysts say, right? We've looked at some of the evidence. We've looked at where she was taken. We looked at all the other items. Now let's take a look at the other person. Summer's not the only one that went missing. Let's look at this. Let's take a look and see who went missing in 2009. Her aunt Rosie Marie Bly, which is Candace's sister, disappeared in 2009. Now remember, Summer disappeared in 2015. So let's look at this. So this is Knoxville, Tennessee. Summer Wells, the 5-year-old at the center of a Tennessee Amber Alert, is not the first member of her family to go missing. Rose Marie Bly, the aunt of Summer Wells, has been the subject of a missing person cold case since 2009. A report from Charlie Project confirms. Rose Marie Bly is the sister of Candus Bly, Summer Wells' mother. The Charlie Project is a database that has categorized over 14,000 missing person cases, mainly from the United States. The project focuses on cases that were never solved. Rose Marie Bly was last seen in St. Croix Falls, Wisconsin on August 21st, 2001, according to the report. She left her home that night to meet a cousin at a bar about 5 miles away. Interesting. She too left the home. Rose Marie Bly told her husband that she would be back before midnight, but she never made it to her destination, the report says. Officials found Rose Marie Bly's vehicle 5 days later in a parking lot used by truckers to park their tractor trailers. The parking lot is located around 30 miles from Rose Marie Bly's residence. The Charlie Project mentions that the lot where the vehicle was found is normally used by semi-truck drivers to park tractor trailers and that there was no sign of foul play. Rose Marie Bly left home with little money and no credit or debit cards, according to the report. Rose Marie Bly and her husband reportedly had a troubled relationship, and 3 weeks after her disappearance, he filed for divorce and sought a court order to prevent her from returning and taking their 2 children. So, prior to her disappearance, police had made at least one house call to the address for a domestic dispute. During the visit, her husband accused her of slapping him, and she accused him of putting her in a headlock and banging her head on the ground. Marie Bly's husband passed a polygraph test after her disappearance and is not considered the suspect of the incident. His divorce and custody petition was granted, and he has sole custody of their children. Her mother speculated that she became disoriented and walked away from her vehicle due to an injury she had sustained a week before the incident. But there is no evidence to support this theory, the report says. Marie Bly has never been found, and the case remains unsolved. Interesting. So their mother, which this is also the same, this is the grandmother that lived at the Wells' property where Summer went missing. So her mother speculated Rosemary became disoriented and wandered away from the vehicle. Why are all these speculations? Why? Due to an injury she had sustained a week before the incident. So if somebody has this injury and you're really concerned, why are you letting them go out to a bar? Number one, why are they driving? If they're that disoriented, why are these things happening? And the other item, though, is why are there all these speculations? There's speculation that Summer walked out the door and that somebody took her. But there's no evidence of that. There's speculation that Rosemary was incoherent and walked away from her vehicle. But there's no evidence of that. So why is it that these two people missing, one a child and one an adult, they're missing, and the Wells/Blys have speculations, but they don't have any evidence against it? And then both Summer Wells and Rosemary have never been found. Isn't this a little bit odd to anybody? Or is it just me? Comment below. Let me know what you think.